Oh, we got some YouTube questions already.
A lot of questions coming in.
All right, so YouTube says we're live. Did we confirm Facebook?
Facebook is.
We're good?
I think we're up on everything now.
All right, welcome to the 034 Motorsport Live, everybody. Episode number
171?
171.
Yeah, I can even end up putting titles now here.
Oh, yeah? Oh, wow. They made an improvement. We're here to answer all your hot burning questions about all things 034. So feel free to type your question into the browser of your current viewage, and we will do our best to respond to all questions. We take an OBS approach to responding. If you love us, we'd love to hear about it. If you are mad at us, like somebody is already, please share that so we can address your concern. We probably, like this guy, we're not going to quite agree with you, and we're going to call out your passive-aggressive
Oh, sweet, we already got some.
BS, but we will respond. Yes. I'm Javad Shadzi, Nate Stewart. So let's get into it. Did I miss anything? I think we're good. All right. Someone says B9 feature request. Is it possible to code the ECU to display the cold oil temp on the VC rather than the virtual cockpit, rather than waiting for it to display 114F and then rise from there? Or is that more of a VCDS thing?
Gosh, I got to look and see. A lot of those are ECU limits. Some of them are sensor limits. I don't know. I haven't honestly poked around in there to know where that cap is.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are good it's probably from the ECU, and some of those are also the sensor themselves just doesn't. They don't care really if it's below that temperature, so the sensor may not even be spec'd to read with any kind of accuracy below there. So they'll set a floor, but
yeah,
I don't know. We need to look into that.
Yeah. My son has an S5 Stage 2 and talked me into doing a Stage 1 on my 2020 S4. Thanks so much for all you and your team do.
Nice.
It's so much fun to drive. Well, that's awesome to hear. Thank you for letting your son talk you into
Right.
things that don't always make the most sense at first. But really cool that you can share that with your son, and thrilling for us that it's a positive experience for you guys and you're having fun with it. Someone says, I cannot wait to big turbo Stage 3 8Y S3. Good to hear. We are working on some exciting Stage 3 type developments for the S3. The market hasn't quite taken off like we had hoped, but we are working on it. It'd be interesting to know if anyone watching with an 8Y S3 what your aptitude towards tuning and modifications is. If there's any, some of the feedback we get is people are worried about warranties, and there's some perception issues. But be happy to address any of those if anyone is willing. Have you guys seen any engines with the main crankshaft seal leakage EA839 on the S4 S5? I hear it's a common problem. We have an engine facing this issue. Manual leakage is a really big problem.
Manual leakage is terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're talking front or rear. I personally don't.
Usually it's the rear.
The rear.
Yeah, usually the rear is what leaks. But I'm not super. I can't think of any instances of that. We haven't had that issue with our cars.
Seen any in the shop?
I don't really think so.
I don't think it's that. I mean, maybe it's a climate thing, and some of the nastier climates it's more impacted. But
I'm a little suspicious. It says that you have an engine facing this issue. I wonder if you actually know what's leaking.
there's a lot of leaks up top that can present
Yes.
themselves and run down.
This is
basically between the transmission.
A classic problem of valve cover, gaskets leaking, or something like that. You could even have a leak on the front of the motor, and the oil drains back down and drips down. The oil can even go into the transmission housing and then leak out the bottom. So be interested to know what you actually find out. It does not. It's definitely not a widespread issue. I'll tell you that much.
We haven't had a single instance that I know of.
Been rolling around on the new flow-formed wheels, fresh Michelins, and new 034 brakes. Feels better, looks better. Thanks for the amazing products and install. So glad you're happy. We've worked really hard on these wheels. It's really awesome to see them out in the wild. Great to hear your feedback. Thank you. That is the goal here. Looks great, performs great, and a reasonable, very fair price. The Flowform wheels are stronger and lighter than cast wheels. At a slightly higher price point, substantially less than the forged wheels. So, great to hear you're happy. Is the sale still going on? No, the sale ended. When did it end? This morning? Last night?
Technically this morning, yeah.
Yeah. When did it technically end?
Technically, if it ended this morning?
Yes.
But it was
Well, I guess it depends on time zones. But
the sale was over at midnight. We will get a little sloppy with how soon we turn off the sale, and I don't think we actually turned it off until this morning, like 7 a.m. or something like that. So it is over. It was great. It's our biggest sale ever, our biggest period of sales ever, our biggest month ever. So thank you to everyone who supported us and purchased products during the sale. We released some new products. We sold a gajillion SüperDüper intakes for B9 S4 and SQ5s. I didn't know there were that many S4s left without intakes. So we're working hard on shipping the orders. Most, all in-stock orders have been shipping in literally like 1 to 2 days. In some cases, we did stock out due to the high volume of sales, and we're working hard to bring those products back in stock and ship them. If you have any questions on order status, you can email contact@034motorsport.com. Why are your strut mounts so noisy for the Mark 7.5 R? Literally sounded like something was broken. Swapped them back out for OEM and threw yours in the garbage. You guys need to do some more R&D. And yes, they were installed correctly and everything was tightened down. Okay, well, we do extensive R&D. In fact, we did sufficient R&D on those when we released them in probably 2015. So almost 10 years ago we released those. Not only did we do R&D, we've got a solid 5 to 8 years of tens of thousands of units out in the wild, and we have made updates and changes. We've done R&D on those since they've been out as well. If you could still take your mount out of the garbage, I would ask you to shake them and try to have them make any noise possible. You'll find that nothing on that mount makes noise. It's a steel inner structure with vulcanized high density rubber, and the cup on the inside is also vulcanized to the rubber. So it is a solid homogeneous mass. Nothing moves. There's literally nothing that can make noise. Even when it's not installed, it will literally not make any noise.
Yeah, I don't know, if you went through our support channels or not. I don't know what struts you have in the car. Some aftermarket struts change the upper profile of the mating interface to that strut cap. There's a bunch more variables we need to look at.
If the OEM are quiet and our installation wasn't, then it's an installation problem. We've been over this a billion times.
Every time I can think of that I've been involved in it, it's been a getting that nut torqued properly.
The top nut isn't torqued properly, and that's what rattles. That's what sounds like it's falling apart. But the mount itself cannot make any noise. So that's you're not the first person to misinstall these, and we do extensive, sufficient R&D. We are actually an engineering and R&D company.
Yeah. Again, if we can look at the mounts and see what's going on there, we're always open for that. But
and of course, if you contacted our customer service or tech support, you could ship them back and we would inspect them, which we've done before, and there's never anything wrong with the mounts. We will even take the mounts and install them in one of our own cars, and they operate perfectly. In fact, all of our cars have these mounts in them. So sorry to hear you had a bad experience, but again, to accuse us of not doing R&D is pretty absurd.
It may be that it is a higher density rubber, you'll get a little more transition of noises from other components. I don't know if that might be what you're talking about, but
You will get some more NVH, but it's not egregious.
No.
It's certainly not. It doesn't sound like something's broken. So, all right, let's move on. Is the B9 S4 S34 SüperDüper Insuction bundle in back order until the end of March? No, that was so. In our system, our system will create these like really conservative, long-term ETAs based on what the system, our ERP system knows. That's not like us going above and beyond to have things shipped faster or made quickly or prioritized. So unfortunately, this information gets to our customer service and they quote it. Realistically, we're looking at starting to ship units, sometime in early to mid-January. So literally less than a month from now. Just hang tight. Our priority is to get you the intake as quickly as possible, and that's what we're doing. So if you have a problem with the ETA, respond, and maybe you can ask CS, like, are you sure? I heard that they might be quicker. We definitely have an updated ETA that customer service will have as of today. Excited to go stage 3 E60 on TTE A10 in a couple of weeks. Looking to get more insight on stage 3 plus. After the white paper came out, I'm still confused on which route to go. The white paper talked about the new revision and how the ECU can pull back on thermal loads on the 3 plus files to reduce combustion chamber temperatures through derates. Some are still experiencing failure on brand new RS injectors with a few thousand miles after install, which shouldn't be clogged or restricted in any way. Well, it shouldn't be, but you're just assuming it shouldn't be. Could you go more in depth about the 3 plus files and how that could be possible with the derate strategies? Also would like an idea on the crank horsepower on stage 3 E60 versus stage 3 plus.
that should all be listed, I believe, on the website. We listed power delta between the two of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. The guy seems pretty thorough. So
Yeah.
maybe he's.
Yeah, I'm not. I would have to look at the specific numbers, but as far as the rest of it, I mean, the 3 plus. We talked about this in quite in depth. It's pushing everything closer to the limits. There's less margin for any components out of spec or any fuel delivery issues or anything of that nature. So that's really where the 3 plus comes in, and we're asking people to gather data logs and stuff for us on the standard output files before we say, yep, you're good to go on 3 plus. Make sure everything's looking healthy and in line with what we expect. What's the rest of it?
There's a reason why there would be a failure, and it could be a brand new clogged injector. We've seen that. It could be that the e-mixture is off. That you're not actually running the right octane. There are reasons why these really rare failures happen, but we really at this point have to evaluate. They're so rare and so few and far between. We have to evaluate each one as it happens, and each one is different.
Yep.
In some cases, customers don't contact us. They're not cooperative. They don't send us information. And again, these are very rare and few and far between. So, in some cases, customers are running the wrong file, with the turbo setup. And in some cases, we've seen, spark plugs do fail, and they will, burn an electrode out occasionally. And there's been cases where a customer feels a misfire because a spark plug starts to fail, and then they do another quarter mile run to see if everything's okay. And they obviously blow their motor.
If you've got any question of the components in the car, if anything doesn't feel right, it's not worth doing quarter mile pull after quarter mile pull after quarter mile pull after the fact to just confirm if what you felt wasn't right. Let's take a step back, do some. These are crazy high output motors. You gotta treat it as such and take a step back and make sure everything's running as intended.
Yeah, but the tunes are good. We verified them.
Yeah. Drive the crap out of them
to a really, really high degree. We have number of cars in-house running every day, being driven very hard. So I think you're looking for some broad-based conclusions and some broad-based, sense. It's I don't know. I'm trying to think of an analogy. It's a little bit loaded about like mass shootings, but it's
let's not go there.
I want to go somewhere with my kids. Is there going to be a mass shooting there? Like, well,
Yeah.
we don't know. I mean, you just have no idea when and where they're going to happen, and nobody really knows exactly why. I mean, each one you look into it and you're like, okay, that guy was crazy. Then this guy had a vendetta, or whatever it was. But like, there's usually a reason, but there's no broad-based like dynamic at play here that's causing broad-based failures. There is no broad-based failures with our tuning. So, but when there are failures, because like Nate said, everything is being pushed so close to the limit, we look into it and we figure it out. And right now, it's been a myriad of the ones that have happened. There's been no consistent theme, necessarily. And I think there is still more that we don't know, that other tuners don't know.
Yep, and we're continually, censoring up more and more vehicles here, doing more R&D, just to get things.
Oh, we do that. We do R&D. Okay.
We're still pushing ahead with new development, new testing, new engine, new data gathering daily. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, another tuner has blamed Audi's factory calibration, which
We haven't done that yet.
absurd. So, but they've actually had substantial numbers of failures that we haven't. So, any plans on releasing a catback exhaust for B9 S4? Not currently. I mean, what we found is with our racing cat and a Res X, the stock exhaust system is not really a restriction.
Yeah, no, I mean, all of our dyno data, 600 plus wheel is on, just exactly that setup. There's nothing crazy in there.
And we do have a new Res X. So we have the current undercar Res X, which removes the middle exhaust resonator, and then we have new Res X's coming out that replace the downpipes from the cats that have little resonators in them as well. We currently have those for the RS5, and these will be for the S4 and S5. So once you do that, most of the exhaust system is going to be replaced. You'll just have two mufflers in the back. And these new Audis have nice big exhaust systems. There's really no issue.
Big pipes.
Yeah, big thick boys. Benefits of your fully vulcanized strut mounts versus another company's ECS tuning, 75 durometer mounts. I don't know much about theirs. I think all they did is they took a factory mount and they had it duplicated in stiffer rubber. Ours are fully vulcanized. So the problem with the factory mount and other variants is there's a steel cup in the middle, and what the manufacturer does is there's a steel structure that they vulcanize rubber around that makes the strut mount. And then where the strut goes through, there's two steel cups that come from each side. And so they insert those into the rubber mount, and then they spot weld that. So the cup is locked into the rubber opening. But what happens is, since it's not vulcanized to the mount, it squeaks as it moves and slides around where the rubber, meets the steel. And the factory mounts they're not too bad stock. But once you put an aftermarket suspension and a stiffer strut, that strut exerts more of a pulling and pushing force on the mount, so that steel cup ends up loading up and sliding and squeaking. So that was the original stimulus for us to make the mounts, and we did a fully vulcanized design, which is actually much harder to do, because not only do you have the steel cage, you have to locate the steel cups and then vulcanize all that at once. I believe we're the only ones on the market that do that, and as long as you install them correctly, they work flawlessly. Again, we've sold tens of thousands of them. They're very, very good performing, reliable product. When can I switch to bald eagle units in the app? All right, Nick. We will tease a upcoming mobile app updates, which is a pretty big update with added features and functionality, and bald eagle units may be a part of it. So stay tuned. If you have 034 SPI currently, should be a nice little fun update for you. Again, free.
Yep.
That we've been, and this will be the first big update we've made to the SPI app since we released it, other than some little bug fixes and stuff that we've done in the background. When's the next sale? Well, we just finished the last one this morning, and as of now, we will never have another sale ever again. So
you missed out.
You'll just have to wait until we announce the next one, which could be like 50 years from now, if you're still alive. Anything for the 2024 Golf R? Yes.
2024
Golf R. Golf R.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we have a full catalog of products, I believe, unless it's substantially changed.
Not that I've seen or heard. No,
I don't think that's
no. I believe if you just go to our website and put in 2024 Golf R or whatever latest generation 8Y Golf R, everything that we sell for it will come up. Let us know if you have any specific questions.
Yes.
We have a really nice catalog. We got springs, sway bars, intakes, tunes. You got Riz add-ons, everything you could want.
Balls.
Yeah, we actually have steel testicles for your Golf R on our website in stock, ready to ship.
Stainless steel, if I'm not mistaken.
Stainless steel. That's right. Polished.
They are polished.
And they even have veins on one side.
They do.
Yeah,
they
cast veins. Stainless steel veins. It's all stainless steel. People think we're joking.
I think they think we're off the rails here, but no, you can.
You know, I had a dealer ask me earlier last week. They're like, "You guys know you have these on the website?" So I was like, "Fuck yeah."
Yeah.
Yep, we know.
You can buy them right now. I'm considering a 034 Stage 1 tune, adding air intake system and dynamic plus sway bars. How much horsepower would take me to on my 2018 Audi SQ5? How much horsepower would it take for me to take on my...
I think he's asking what kind of power is he looking at with the intake on there as well.
Oh, okay.
Did he say he's on stage 1?
He's considering it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, we have published numbers up. You're going to get a little bit more with the intake, and then I would strongly say you should also be doing the intercooler. That's going to be the next big one to really look at. But intake and intercooler will get you 75 or 80% towards basically this published stage 2 numbers at that point.
But yeah,
so you can
on 91, with an intake and intercooler, over 400 horsepower.
Yeah.
On 93, over 430. And on E85, pretty much 500 crank.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you could take on a lot of cars with that in your SQ5. D6, B7, S4 Flywheels. As the question, this must be about our inventory. They are being made right now, and we've been out of stock on them forever. I won't go into the gory details, but
why don't we just bring them in stock?
That's a good fucking question.
That's a really
I've
good
been
question.
asking that
Damn it.
not to kill people. But
I didn't know if anybody thought of that.
No, actually they didn't until recently. So
I need to be in more meetings.
Flywheels have like I said, there's been some unique challenges that we've overcome. Yes. Is there a reason why you offer a Mark 8 R S3 downpipe but don't offer one for the Mark 8 GTI? Well, it's not that we don't offer one. We will. It's being made.
We don't currently, but yeah.
Because we do this thing called R&D. The Golf R unit went through R&D much faster than the GTI units, and there was some complications with fitment on the GTI, and so that product has taken longer to get into production. It is being produced now. The fact that they're both downpipes for Mark 8 platform cars is just purely coincidence. Those two products were developed independently of each other, so there was really no reason for them to come out at the exact same time. But it would have been great if the R&D effort went as smoothly for the GTI as it did for the Golf R. Unfortunately, it didn't, and it's just how R&D works. So I hope to have that released in the next, month or so. So it's coming. If you're in the market for one, please hang on a little longer. What hurdles did you guys need to overcome in the development of the PCV system fix for the B9 3.0T? Well, we haven't released this product yet, and we'll release more information in the future, but I'll speak in general terms that I think any of our competitors would hopefully understand as well. As one, we had to actually address the core issue, which is the factory PCV is not capable of dealing with higher boost pressures. It does okay with stock, but they're still failure prone even stock. But once you start throwing 30 psi at it, they fail pretty quickly. So we had to develop a check valve that could withstand like 100 psi of boost. So more than any car would ever see. We had to ensure that the PCV system functioned properly. So the PCV systems on these newer cars are extremely complex. There are a myriad of check valves and diaphragms that control the flow of crankcase air pressure, airflow to the turbo inlet, airflow to the intake manifold. All these air passageways have to be maintained and have to continue to function as they do in a stock car. Otherwise, the crankcase could pressurize. Oil could go into your intake system. The ECU may throw codes or even go into limp.
You'll definitely get codes if those flows are off.
So there's a lot of design constraint. You can't just throw a hose on there or replace the PCV assembly on the valve cover and expect everything to work correctly. As we've seen some examples out there, companies have done that and things don't work. And then the system has to flow properly. There's actually quite a bit of flow through those PCV hoses, and if the flow is restricted, then pressure builds up, right? So a sealed volume is essentially a chamber where the flow going out of the chamber is zero. But in order to create 0 psi or a vacuum, you need to flow X. If you cut that X volume in half, then you start to build pressure in that area, which is the area is like the crankcase system. So these are just some of the things, and then it had to be manufacturable. It had to come out at a price point that was attractive to customers. It couldn't come out with a $2,000 PCV system. And then in some cases we've added our catch can functionality to further catch fumes and oil that comes out of the crankcase. So yeah, that's a little bit of insight there. We'll discuss more in the future. Good question though.
Somebody asking, have you seen issues with catch cans? Yes, we have seen people with issues with catch cans.
I mean, almost all of them.
Yeah, it's all in, like we just talked, there's a bunch of valving, check valving. Some of those catch cans don't replace the factory PCV valve, which is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there is not on the market yet a fully flushed out solution that I know of.
Yeah. Two Men Talking About VAG? Yes. Welcome to Two Men Talking About VAG. Enjoy. Hopefully you're comfortable. Let's see. B8.5 Stage 2 Plus E40. Is it safe to be running E40 on a ported blower and during the winter in the Northeast?
That is very hard to answer without knowing more about the vehicle and what like your pulley ratio is and any other supporting mods and that kind of thing. So feel free to touch base with Tuning At and grab a log for us. We can take a look at it and see how it's all behaving. But in general, it should be fine. But again, people run some monster pulleys sometimes and are just well off the reservation for boost and fuel levels.
I would say driving in the winter in the Northeast is not safe. You should
That
stop.
in and of itself has its own perils.
You should stop. Yeah.
Oh, I loved it.
Well, you live for danger.
Oh, that's me.
I saw in a Q&A from a while back, you said you were interested in doing Haldex
They're
controllers.
sneaking
That's
these
still on the
update
table.
questions in all these new ways.
This is an interesting, rephrasing.
Yeah,
of
somebody's asking if we're going to do Haldex controllers. Unlikely that we would do a controller. We would do Haldex reprogramming, which we can do. We don't have anything. I don't have any kind of ETA for you on that, though.
Another year without RS3 TTRS surge tanks. Yeah.
Yep.
You must be really fun at parties. I have no response. You're right. And
We know.
I will lose sleep over that. Thank you. This is another product that has posed one challenge after the other due to the R&D process.
Yep.
We could have released something that would have been problematic. We've actually sold them, and we have, I don't know, probably five DAZAs in the country driving around on that surge tank kit right now, but we haven't brought it to production yet. I definitely regret ever talking about it.
This is the problem we run into is like, we think we're, here with the development, say this is the finish line, and we find some issue in our extended testing or track test or whatever it is, and it kind of reboots the whole process, and you've got to get, all the time for the R&D work that you've got only X amount of hours in the week that are dedicated to, current products, new products, whatever. And all of a sudden you've got to shift everything around, make a bunch more time to jump into this product you thought was at the finish line.
It's a complicated juggling
it's
effort.
It's not like that's the only thing we're doing. We're just like, hey, we've got this one thing we're working on for you. We're, at the luxury of just working on that.
Following the line of SQ5, Q7 SUV development, will you be doing X3M developments? We don't currently have plans to do X3M. It's a very potent platform. Those cars like stock make like stage 3 Audi power, or with a flash.
With some minor work.
Yeah, so those are ridiculous, but we're focused, mostly on Audi, Volkswagen right now, and we're doing some BMW, but we're an Audi tuning company, and that's where our opportunity is. The cam follower for VAG cars are known to be total shit and need replacing quite frequently, especially when tuned. Have you guys considered engineering a more robust follower?
So this was a thing for like the Mark V era cars.
It was total shit on the Mark V.
Yeah, they have a flat tappet follower that just rides on the top of the cam, and it does wear. There's unfortunately not a lot you can do to fix that. Any thicker of a disc, basically at that interface disc, and you end up pushing the piston further up into the pump, which is a very limited amount of space there. So it's not a simple solution. It was fixed basically entirely on all of the later cars. They went to roller followers. So that, I don't know if I've seen one of those fail yet. I'm sure they have, but it's incredibly more robust than the flat tappets. So no, we don't have any special magical fix for those. They're super easy to change, thankfully, and I think every oil change or two, you can just throw a new tappet in there.
Yeah. Is it even that frequent?
No, that would be way proactive.
They used to be like that. I mean, that was literally
that was the initial
10, 15 years ago. The new cars, I never hear about it.
The new cars, they have the follower, the rollers now. It's not a thing.
Yeah, okay.
You don't really have to worry about it.
I've seen 2 or 3 fail on E8 39s, but they seem like wild cases. Stock car.
Yeah, I'm sure they're out there. It's a moving mechanical parts. It's always a chance for failure.
As much as any other
right.
hardware part failure.
I mean, yeah. But no, they're way more robust of a design.
I got a lot of questions. Let's keep forging forward. No pun intended. Can you comment on the NVH difference between MQB Dogbone inserts versus density line pucks by themselves? I would say the inserts in stock pucks versus only R pucks is comparable. Where the NVH gets worse is when you install R pucks with the inserts. Then the NVH is elevated. I still wouldn't say it's bad, but it can be more noticeable on the MQB application. Now, our earlier, like PQ35 era cars, we have these solid pucks that are solid rubber, and that was kind of a time when we were more unleashed and more,
More raw.
less tame, less housebroken, and so those are pretty raunchy. If you install those
are basically a full-on race mount.
Your private bits will be vibrating as you drive, but the MQB ones are not bad because we maintain the factory profile. We just stiffen up the rubber a little bit. So, we offer the inserts, for most applications. If you want something more, do the pucks with the inserts, and you're gonna have a really nice firm setup. Very sporting, but by no means bad NVH, I wouldn't say. Are there any cons to leaving the 034 dongle plugged into my 2014 Audi S5 24/7? Any potential negatives, harm, battery drain, etc.?
It's going to have a little bit of parasitic drain. We spoke about this before. It should land when everything powers down. It goes into like a sleep mode. It'll still draw probably 30 milliamps or so, if I can remember correctly. So there's going to be some drain because it's keeping the Bluetooth radio on for you, so you can connect at any time. If you're driving the thing regularly, there's no issue with that at all. If it's going to sit for like 2 weeks at a time, I would probably say unplug it just because it's a draw that doesn't need to be there.
All right. Someone's asking about our pistons. We have these gorgeous jewelry-like JE pistons here.
Don't drop it.
With, if you can see the...
Yep. I'll
Probably cannot see. They have a silkscreen 034 on the bottom, which is a 034 specified part. These are made for us by JE Pistons. We've been working with JE Pistons for 15 years at least. These are retailing for $2,100 for a set of 6, which includes upgraded high strength wrist pins and very high quality Japanese rings, which we'll go into more detail. They do lower compression. So factory in the S4 application, compression's 11 to
11.2 or something.
11.2 to 1. We reduce it to 10 to 1.
Which is the same as like the RS5.
RS5 is 10 to 1. The reason why we lowered the compression is it gives you, especially on pump gas like 91, 93, but even on the 85, it gives you the ability to run more timing and still make more power without the limit of the higher compression. So for lower power levels like stock, the higher compression makes sense.
Yes.
But when you start making more power with boost, the timing combined with the boost and the lower compression will overall be a safer and more powerful setup.
Specifically for like pump gas fuels like 91,
93. Yeah. Not as much for E85 because E85 is so detonation resistant.
Yeah. But it is also a much stronger piston, so the more and more power we're going to be making, the pistons themselves are much stronger.
The reason we made these pistons is for increased power levels. These should be combined and used with the powder rods that we also offer. Combined with the rods and pistons, you essentially address the bottom end strength concerns and the torque limits of the factory rods and pistons. Factory pistons have been more failure. I wouldn't say they're egregiously failure prone, but we have seen cracked pistons, which is a sign of the lack of strength. And these JE pistons being forged from a single slug of billet aluminum are substantially stronger. They will not crack like that. Certainly not on any conceivable power levels. And then with the lower compression, it's a really high strength, high performance piston application. They are coated on the skirts to be compatible with the aluminum blocks in these Audi motors. Audi's not the only company that has aluminum blocks. Virtually everything out there is aluminum now. JE has developed coating technology along with other companies to be fully compatible with aluminum blocks. Someone's asking, will these require a new tune, or can I run them with your existing off-the-shelf tuning? We don't have a definitive position on that. We believe that off-the-shelf tunes should be compatible with these pistons, certainly in the RS5.
Yeah, we will have, lower compression optimized calibrations coming.
Yeah, but we will offer specific calibrations for these pistons eventually, to utilize the higher power and torque capabilities that the rods and pistons provide. We offer a full kit to upgrade the bottom end with all your existing components. Yes, it's currently live on the site. It's $4,800, which includes powder rods, these JE pistons, and then our head stud and main stud kit. Presumably, you'll need some head gasket, factory head gaskets, which we should list. We need to list. And you can check out your rod and main bearings. Chances are they're reusable if they haven't been damaged. So let us know if you have any questions about these. These are in stock, ready to ship. We've been getting quite a few questions about them. These do utilize the factory wrist pin size, which is 20 millimeters, I believe. These pistons will work with factory rods, although I really don't see the point of doing just the piston. Although actually the pistons have been much more failure prone than the rods. So,
they have, yeah.
I think in a lot of cases you could run the current, high output stage 3 files with these pistons and be much safer. But I haven't seen a bent rod yet.
We haven't, no.
No.
Nope.
Like ejecting a rod out the block or anything like that.
I have one follow-up real quick.
I have concerns that forged pistons make too much noise. Will that falsely set off the knock sensor? Forged pistons are noisier.
It's generally in the cylinder wall clearance itself.
It is, but because of the alloy and the way this material expands, you do need bigger clearances. So when the engine is cold, it's common to hear. If you've ever heard like a semi, like clack, 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 that's for the same issue that they use. The diesel engines use in many cases forged pistons of similar construction and design to this, and so the cylinder wall clearances need to be bigger to allow the material to expand more, where like cast or some of the factory alloys have a lower thermal expansion rate. So there can be you can usually hear when a motor has forged pistons like this. We can't say for sure how noisy these are in this application, and certainly if there's any impact on knock sensing or tuning, we will provide a calibration to optimize for that. But for now, we've come out with the pistons. We are putting these in a motor as we speak, and we're making them available to the market at the same time we have them, and we will continue to develop around these. So this is only the very beginning of forged built motor world for B9. The new rods and pistons need to be machine shop balanced once assembled. It's a good idea. I mean, if you take your motor to the machine shop, they will balance everything. And generally, that's what we would recommend.
So we're asking these pistons are for the B9 S4. Yes. Yeah, these are the 3-liter B9 S4, S5, SQ5.
Yeah. They're probably too big for the RS5, right? The RS5 has a smaller bore. These are huge. They're 84 mil? 84.5. They're 82.5?
I believe.
Something I saw said 84. Maybe that was
84.5.
Yeah, they're 84.5. So in the VAG world, this is a big piston.
Yeah.
Used to be like 83 was huge. Wonder if you could throw a piston this big in an i5 or an 18 or something.
88 mil bore spacing, so probably not.
Yeah. I think 83.5 is the biggest I ever did. So, yes, but these are specifically for the 3.0T EA839. When upgrading to the Stage 3 TT720 and the RS5, what is recommended to change other than plugs and diverter valves? Well, we definitely recommend our intake.
Intercooler and intake, yeah.
Intercooler as well. The Wagner intercooler is the best option on the market that we found that we also offer. But yeah, if you look on the website, required modifications and recommended modifications are all there. We discussed that with every turbo kit. I think we already. Oh, will you guys be partnering with a company to make aftermarket pistons for the EA837? I believe we are working on that. Those are coming, although that application doesn't nearly need them as bad.
No.
But there have been piston failures on those too.
Yeah, that's the B8 S4 for those that don't.
The piston failures are very similar to the B9. I mean, it's related to the piston, construction and design. They kind of crack in half or pieces fall out of the piston.
Yeah, super rare on B8 stuff for that.
Yeah.
Some mitigating, reason.
The loads are
The cylinder pressures are way lower.
Yeah. Native, my B8.5 S4 had a little bit of a light clunky stuff. I turned it off. I think this is a problem of the PCV. Will the engine be okay? Are there any things I need to do as well as the PCV?
My goodness, I don't know. I don't know what a little bit of light clunky stuff is.
Yeah, I don't either.
That's a really tough one to diagnose.
That sounds like
if you have like some sort of physical aberration going on in there that you can send pictures of, we can certainly take a look at it to send it to tuning at. Otherwise, if it's a running issue, if it's like not running right, and that's what you're trying to talk about, again, we can take a log and take a look.
Yeah, but clunky stuff is just not.
I don't know what clunky stuff is and how
technical.
we can diagnose anything with that. If you have a problem with the PCV, yeah, there's some other stuff I would do while you're in there. I don't know age and stuff of this motor. There's all the normal, Achilles heel things. You're in there, you've basically got to take all the injection system out anyway. If you haven't done the injectors, it's a good time to do that because you got to get all the lines and stuff up out of the way. Same with a water pump, basically, because it's all kind of exposed in there to you for water pump thermostat stuff. So I would take a look at it and make sure you're getting the most out of the effort of getting in there and digging into the valley.
Yeah, let's move on because that was really big. How do some people run catch cans with no issues and some cars have issues and excessive crankcase pressure? Would a filter on top of oil cap help issue? No,
don't do that.
That would burn your car down.
And also you need that wants to be sealed and you want to try and draw a vacuum on that.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. In general, we see consistent performance from cars and engines with catch cans, given it's the same application. Now, if you have bad rings, if you have bad compression, if you're leaking combustion pressure into the crankcase, then no catch can is going to fix that.
Or a failed PCV.
Yeah, that could be what you've seen. Is some you're not comparing apples to apples. Something with one of the cars has failed and is posing a technical problem. Someone's asking about the racing line catch can. I think we should let them speak for that. We're not experts on that. We have very little experience with that. How important is a specific brand of intercooler? There are many options with similar sizes at different price points. Are there actual differences?
There are 100% huge actual differences that will impact everything from fit, finish to performance.
And it's not necessarily related to the brand. It's related to the engineering and construction of the intercooler. It's kind of like asking, there's 10 brands of chili. Are they all the same because they say chili on the can? Right. No, not at all.
It's 12 ounces of chili. It's got to be the same as all the other 12 ounces.
They're all going to taste different. You're going to like one better than the other. One is made from ground up dog meat, and the other has like real chunks of beef in it. So it's the same with intercoolers. And you can read about intercoolers online if you like, but all intercoolers are not created the same. In fact, they're all different from each other, and it's completely related to the size of the tubes. So air goes in the end tank, pressurized air, and is forced and flowed through these tubes. Now the tubes are either round tubes that are crimped flat. So say go from a 2-inch circle into a 2.5-inch wide by 1/4 inch tall severely ovalized tube, which would be a tube and fin style. Bar and plate would be, stacked pieces of aluminum that create a passageway. And then the number of passages is related to the amount of flow through the core. And then there are turbulators that go inside these tubes. So air can't just flow through the tube. If it did, hardly any of the heat would escape from it. So the air has to interact with as many aluminum surfaces as possible to shed its heat as it goes through the tube. So the density of the turbulators, the style of the turbulators, in some cases even the aluminum alloy that's used, can really make a difference on the efficiency or the amount of heat that transfers from the air to the aluminum. Then you have turbulators between the tubes that transfer that heat to the atmospheric air flowing over the intercooler. Again, the shape, density of the external turbulators is critical to getting rid of that heat. And then the more turbulators you have, the more efficient the intercooler is. The more turbulators you have, the less the intercooler flows. So now you're playing a balancing game, which is, if you had a point of equilibrium between, density versus flow, efficiency versus flow, you're trying to find just the perfect density, the perfect shape and profile of the turbulators. Typically, the turbulators, you take like a really thin, almost like thicker than aluminum foil, and then you would make cuts in it and then flare those cuts out. And so that's what the air kind of bounces through and goes through. Again, the more you have, the more efficient it is, the more heat sheds, but the less air can flow through it. So anyways, as you can see, just hearing me talk about it is extremely complex. And, a lot of these cheap Chinese eBay intercoolers that you see are actually extruded aluminum tubes. And so they do an aluminum extrusion, and they put like these little...
they're almost heat sink fins, but they're
basically little heat sinks on the inside. And they call it an intercooler, but the air just flows right through it. Now they flow a ton. So a cheap Chinese eBay intercooler that uses forged aluminum tubes will substantially outflow any good quality name brand intercooler on the market. The problem is the hot air goes in and the hot air comes out, and it doesn't interact at all with
you get
with those fins.
Some of the boundary layer cooling, and that's
a little bit.
Really
you get a little bit of temp reduction. The factory Audi intercoolers and Volkswagen and BMW, they use extremely good quality, very well designed intercoolers. The problem is they're too small. The cores just aren't big enough. So the cross-sectional flow area is not enough to support the higher flow levels, and the size of the intercooler, the heat capacity of the intercooler is simply too small or too low to accommodate doubling your horsepower.
Yeah,
So,
well, like I think you mentioned the cross-sectional area, just because you've got all those turbulators in there. When you've got an intercooler that's 3 inches by 6 inches, you're trying to run 400, 500, 600 horsepower through it now. That reduced cross-sectional area is going to kill you.
So anyways, hopefully that just gives you a little bit of insight as, yes, it is complicated. The brand design engineering of the intercooler does matter. Yeah. We work with Wagner because they do a really good job with this. If you buy a Wagner intercooler, you're getting an optimized, very high quality, high flowing, highly efficient intercooler.
I don't think we've ever used one that's kind of missed the mark from them.
No, never.
It's been, you get what the box says.
We are starting to release some of our own intercoolers. We released an MQB intercooler this year, and again, we spent like over a year on the dyno testing different intercooler cores, different turbulator densities, different styles, designs.
Yep.
And we benchmarked everything on the market. Ours either beats everything on the market or matches the very best option we could find that we couldn't improve beyond because it was so optimized.
Yeah, pre and post, pressure taps, temperature taps. We had a race dash in the car to do all this logging while we were doing it both in the dyno and on the road. So,
and we're coming out with more.
A log goes into this stuff.
Yeah. All right. You guys almost convinced me to get an S4, but I ended up with a B58, like a bomber. Damn.
58's the MI6 in the 340. And
that's like fucking World War II bomber.
Really
That's
sidetracked
badass,
on
man.
that. No.
I don't know where you're going to drop all those bombs, though. Do you guys have products for the Supra? I don't think so.
No.
Not unless we accidentally made one with one of the BMW products.
Maybe
a transmission mount, but yeah,
I don't
maybe a
even
motor
know.
mount, but
We should look into it if we have.
that's well off our typical radar.
Yeah. Someone says I installed my S34 SüperDüper Insuction bundle last week on my B9 SQ5. It's so loud. Wonderful. Glad to hear. That's a lot of riz for you, so try to manage that for real. Do you have plans to develop a P34 intake for the B9 SQ5? It seems like a sweet spot between your S and X options. I don't think so. Not with the S34. There's really no need for
The price
that
point
many
gets hit on the
options.
S34.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of people who were waiting for a P34 and they've bought the S34. It falls in that price point. Tips for installing Dogbone inserts correctly. Have installed both upper and lower. It causes some wild vibration when taking off in first. I'd say the main reason for that is you really, when you put the inserts in, before you tighten the bolts back down, you need to ensure that the motor is in a neutral position and not loading up one way or the other. If the motor's weight is pushing on the insert and then you tighten that bolt, you're just forcing the motor into the insert, and then when you accelerate, it pushes even harder into it.
Yeah, and I've seen some where the clocking is a little off, and then you end up with basically the aluminum right up against the plastic of the mount, essentially.
That's the other thing. Make sure there's no short circuit from one hard part to another. You want to make sure there's rubber between all the parts.
the other one is OEM mounts, they sag sometimes, and so it makes them hit a little bit.
Yeah, the factory mounts can sag, and again, think there's a plastic kind of in the middle of the mount is a plastic standoff, and if that plastic touches anywhere on the insert, it's going to transfer vibrations directly. And in some rare cases, I've seen like extra plastic there that has to be kind of ground off with a file or something like that.
I've seen that, but
if it's sticking out. Yeah.
But yeah, no, there shouldn't be any harsh there should never be any vibrate I'm trying to think of how to explain this, a real sharp, crisp vibration. If you're getting something that is rattly, then like Jawad said, you've short circuited something, and you're somehow the mount is interacting directly with the plastic on either the outside shell or some other hard part that it shouldn't be. It should be fully contained within rubber. There'll be about a quarter inch or so minimum between everything.
How safe is it to run your guys' downpipe on a 2018 S4 with no tune for a little bit?
There's no reason you.
Well, if they were installing it, and I think it would be safe as long as you didn't do wide open throttle runs or anything like that. You're gonna throw a code for sure, but it should be safe until you get the right tune on there.
This is a great question.
VR6
Yeah,
turbo, 24 volt
unfortunately-
VR6 turbo parts coming back in stock.
VR6 turbo kits are not coming back.
Not likely.
I think we discontinued those going on 10 years ago. I think we just didn't sell any. We sold very few. I think a couple a year or something. It just wasn't worth it. I think we're pretty much out of time.
Yep.
Any plans to have ethanol content integrated into the SPI app using a Bluetooth ethanol sensor?
We've talked about that.
Something that's being discussed.
Yeah, nothing set yet.
We talk about water meth injection all the time. I think if you look back through some of our lives, or maybe Sean can help, we discuss it regularly. B9.5 R S5 currently have the X34 full intake. When the S34 intake and turbo that come out, it will be a standalone full intake, i.e. won't need any of the X34 carbon fiber components, correct? S34 will be an S34 style intake with initially a silicone turbo inlet tube with billet aluminum adapter flanges for the turbos. So it will be a whole inlet and intake system in one piece. So imagine the S34 style intake but that silicone hose goes all the way to the turbos, which in other applications we haven't done. So yes, you would pretty much replace everything that you have now, including your factory turbo inlets, with the new S34 RS5 SüperDüper intake.
Yep. Somebody's asking, I have an APR stage 2 and want to swap to a 034 stage 2. How would that work? Just get in touch with what tuning at, or do we just send contact at? Contact at. We'll do a
Switching
discount for you.
Yeah, we can give you 25% switching discount. Our team will send you a quote, and then you can check out that way, and then you can just flash. You can either flash back to stock or just flash over the APR too.
I think we're good.
All right.
All right, guys.
Okay.
Well,
thanks for
again
joining
for
us. Yeah.
All the questions.
I think we'll be back next week
Arizona,
on Monday. Should be good.
Okay.
All right. Cheers.
Regular.